Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be talking about some central measures of tendency. Okay, central measures of tendencies are it is a number. When you have a data set, it is one number that represents that data set. So you want to try to find the best number to represent that data set. So for example, if I'm looking at my class grades from a test, typically we find the average of the grades and we say, okay, most people made around a 74, if that's what the average is. So that's called a central measure of tendency because it is one number that represents the whole set. Okay, there are different types of central measures of tendency. One is the mean, one is the median, one is the mode, and then another one we're going to talk about is the mid-range. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to find the mean. Mean is the most commonly used. It's the most commonly used central measure of tendency, and it is the sum of all the data items divided by the number of items. So that is how you actually find the mean. And so the formula looks like this. So with math symbols, this is what the formula looks like. And so mean, we also use an X with a line over it that also represents the mean. And the formula looks like this. This is a summation sign. It's the sum of all the X divided by N. Where this summation of all the X, that means you're going to add up all X represents the data points. So the sum means you're going to add up all of the X, and then N represents the number of items, data items that you have. So you're going to divide it by the number of items that you actually have. So that's the formula for mean, and that is how you will find it. And so let's look at an example. For this first example, we want to find the mean of this data set that has 100, 40, 70, 40, and 60 in it. And so what we want to do is, first of all, see how many numbers do we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers in our data set. So our N will be equal to 5. Now each of these numbers represent an X. So to find the mean, X bar, remember we take the sum of all X divided by N. Well, the sum of all X will be 100 plus the 40 plus the 70 plus the 40 plus the 60. And then you would divide it by, remember we said our N was 5, that's how many numbers you have. So if you add up all of those, 100 plus 40 plus 70, that's 210, plus 40 plus 60, that's 310. You get 310 divided by 5. And if you divide that out, let's see, you get 62. So you can plug this all in your calculator, especially as the data set gets larger. So this one has 5 data points in it. So it's you could do that one by hand. You can actually do them all by hand, but the larger the data sets get, you're definitely going to want to use a calculator. And so that's how you would find the mean. You would take each data point, add them together, and then divide by the number of items in the data set, okay? So the mean is 62. So what we say is 62 is the average of this set. So 62 is a number that's used to represent all of those different data points. That's what we call it, a measure of central tendency. So sometimes you may want to calculate the mean of a data set, and the data is actually given to you in a frequency distribution. Okay, we talked about frequency distributions previously, which means that gives you each data point and the number of times that it's listed, the frequency of it. You usually have that when you have a large data set, okay? And so the formula to find the mean when you're given a frequency distribution, so remember the X with the line over it means mean. It's almost the same as the previous formula, except you take the sum of all X's times F. F is the frequency, divided by N, which is the number of data points, okay? So the only thing that's different is you're still going to add up you're still going to take a sum of things, but this time you're going to take the sum of X times F. So that means the data point times its frequency, and then you're going to divide it by how many numbers there are. So let's look at an example of that. For this second example, what we want to do is we want to find the mean of the data set, and the data set is given as a frequency distribution, okay? So remember with the frequency distribution, each of these on the left side are your data points. So our data set actually contains numbers 1 through 7. And then these numbers in the right column represent how many times you have each of those data points. So in our data set, we actually have 2 1s, we have 4 2s, we have 5 3s, 7 4s, and so forth. And so now if we want to find the mean, instead of having to list them all out and add them together, there's a simpler way that we can find the mean. And that is, we first of all need to figure out how many data points do we have. So we have 2 plus 4 is 6, 6 plus 5 is 11, 11 plus 7 is 18, 18 plus 10 is 28, plus 3 is 31. So if I add those all together, I get 31. So our n will be equal to 31. So there are 31 items in our data set. Now what we want to do is we want to actually multiply, and I'm just going to stick another column over here. We want to multiply the x times the f. So x is our data point, so this is our x. F is our frequency. Okay, so I'm just doing 1 times 2, which is 2. 2 times 4, which is 8. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 7 is 28. 5 times 6 is 30. 6 times 4 is 24. And 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, so once I add those up, so remember the formula for the mean using the frequency distribution is the sum of all the x times f's divided by n. So the next thing I want to do then is I want to add all of these up, okay? And so you can actually plug these in your calculator, or you can do them by hand. And so when I add all of these up, I get a total of 128. All right, 2 and 8 is 10. That's 25, that's 53, that's 83, that's 107. Yeah, plus 21 is 128, okay? And so now the formula for the mean will be the sum of all of these, which is the 128, divided by the n, which is how many total you have. So you're dividing these two numbers, which is 31. And when you do 128 divided by 31, you get 4.12 and some more numbers. I'm going to round it to the nearest hundredth. So, and I'm going to make this a little wavy equal sign, which means approximately, because I'm rounding it. So it's approximately 4.13. Okay, so the mean for this data set would be 4.13, which is saying this is a number, a good number to use to represent the whole data set. So on average, our data set is around 4.13. Alrighty. So this is how you would find the mean. So I showed you an example how to find the mean when you have just the data set listed out. You just add them all up and divide it by the number of numbers. And then I also showed you how to find the mean when the data set is given in a frequency distribution. You will multiply each data point by its frequency, add those numbers up, and take that sum and divide it by the number of numbers. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for watching, and make sure you watch the next video, which will show you how to find the median, which is another measure of central tendency. Thanks for tuning in.